Today we have a special guest. I don't know if you guys know, but next weekend this week actually, I'm going to be doing a Just Dance 2 to 3 hour marathon in the name of charity, and we actually have the charity's deputy CEO with us here, who's going to tell us a little bit about that. So let me go ahead and introduce him. Hello. Oh, 1 second. I totally forgot to unmute this. Okay, there we go.
Great.
All right, so Alex, welcome. Thank you so much for being on. I know things were kind of busy this week, but I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
No, thank you, and thanks for all that you're doing next week as well for us at the number.
Yeah, of course. So, this is episode 7 of the Stellar Fusion podcast, where I talk about a bunch of stuff, random things. We talk about health, fitness stuff. We talk about gaming and pop culture news. But today, I really wanted to talk to you about your charity, which is called the Diana Award. So when Josephine actually first reached out to me, I was very interested because I had never heard about it. So how would you summarize this charity organization?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Everyone knows Princess Diana, but they don't necessarily know that a charity was set up in her memory. So shortly after she died, the British government came up with an idea of a lasting legacy, and that was called the Diana Award. And we give out awards to young people that are effectively changing the world. But also something that came from that was a lot of young people were receiving awards for tackling injustice or things like abuse. And therefore we created a program called the Anti-Bullying Ambassador Program, which trains young people to stand up to bullying. And that's been not just across the UK, but also it's gone as far as Miami high schools. And it's all about trying to make school and the internet a better and more positive place.
Yeah, that's gotta be hard work. Yeah. Because especially now, since everyone's kind of stuck at home, so now the entertainment is all online, it's all virtual. Would you say that the amount of people reaching out to your organization have increased during this time?
Yeah, so you're right. We found that during social distancing, a lot more people are online, and we know that therefore they could be more potentially affected by online harm, such as bullying or harassment or so on. Mm-hmm. I think the interesting thing is, though, actually, that we have always found that face-to-face bullying is far bigger than online bullying for children. And I think the reason why that is because for a lot of things, when you're at school, you spend so much time at school that drama starts at school, and then maybe it becomes digital drama, but it usually starts in the school. So we've actually found this calm down a little bit because you're not.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. That's so wild. I guess maybe because more of my life is spent in the digital space, I experience it more there because people have anonymity. They're hiding behind a username and a blank profile picture. But yeah, I totally forget what it's like to be in school.
No, and I think you made a good point. I think the older you get, the less likely. What we found actually is that the older you get, maybe you're more likely to be facing negativity online because it doesn't rely so much on those relationships at schools. Instead, as you say, people might have no identity or a fake profile, and they can just say what they want, and you're kind of more exposed to that. But we certainly find for children, they're less likely to be bullied by a stranger. It's more likely to be somebody they know from school that's bullying them online.
Right. So are there any, so tell me about your programs that you initiate for young people to, help coach them on how to react to people who are being bullied, people who might be struggling really hard, and how to best give them support. Like, what do these programs teach you, and what are the resources that are needed?
Yeah, so we're increasingly looking beyond school now and just giving as many people as possible skills to deal with negativity on the internet, because
Mm-hmm.
as you say, you're really likely, sadly, to come across things that make you feel upset or unsafe or uncomfortable on the internet. And what we try and do is give people some basic confidence and some skills to be able to manage any sort of negative feelings that they might get. And sometimes is as simple as thinking about how you let you, and using the tools that are there, such as block, muting, to kind of put a defense or a bubble around you. But for other bits of the training, it's also about how you can seek help or how you can try and resolve it. But because often, if you let someone know how they're being, how their behaviour is affecting you, it can get through to those people. And I think the other important part of it is that idea of when you're offline and you're a bystander and you see something, you need to be able to say something. Well, we're trying to encourage upstanders online, so that actually if you're in a game or if you're on social media and you see something you don't like, well, how do you make sure you try and make the community a safer place by reporting it or reaching out to the person and sliding into the DMs of the person who's on the receiving end and say, look, I've seen what's happening. If you want to talk, I'm there for you. So I think part of it is about knowing that you can make a difference online, and it can be as simple as just some words or challenging the negative behavior you see.
I think that's really important. I think a lot of people have gotten used to just, I hate the sentiment of, ignoring things like, oh, that's what people will say. It's fine. Just let it be. I feel like that's even a more negative way to look at it, because it's just encouraging that behavior because there's nothing to block it. So I think it's really important what you guys are doing, training people and saying, hey, no, it is important for you to speak out about it. Even if you feel like it doesn't do anything, who knows, maybe it'll actually stop the other person and make them think, oh, right, this is another person.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And it's almost as simple as if doing something makes the online community safer and more positive, and that's what you've got to remember. Like, you've got a voice and you can actually make a difference to people in your community and people who are online.
Yeah, I think something like this is really important because it makes you feel like you're not the only one in this situation, like there are others there, they're here to support you. Again, having like a support group, that's so important. I think when I felt like I was at my loneliest and when I didn't feel like I had a lot of friends, finding one or two people who I really trusted and being able to talk to them and having them have my back was really important. So something like this where, it could be like a group of people who are advocating for you, I think that's super important. Are there do you have any like favorite stories or any like favorite outreach moments that you have from your, actually, how long have you been CEO of the Diana Award? I should have asked you that.
Yeah, so only for the last sort of couple of years. I was bullied myself at school, and I started sort of some campaign work in my school, and then it was about 7 years ago that I managed to turn it into a full-time job. I suppose similar a little bit to the streamer kind of story. You have to do many other things sometimes before you really can follow your passion. And I managed to get some funding, and then 3 years ago became sort of the deputy CEO, and it's been a really good journey since then. Yeah.
That's awesome. By the way, you guys in chat, if you have any questions for Alex, please feel free to type them out to him. I kind of forgot that Josephine introduced you as the deputy CEO, and I was like, oh, he's probably the manager of everyone. And then I looked and I was like, oh no, he's the deputy CEO. Okay, gotta look presentable. Gotta.
No, don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah. So we did talk very briefly. So you are a gamer yourself. Is that how you got introduced to Twitch and the whole world of, being able to fundraise through a virtual space like that? How did you find that connection?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I like to think that I am sort of inquisitive, and I like to find out about trends or popular culture. Although I think that the older I get, actually, the harder it is to keep in touch with some of the things. And like sometimes when people have sort of a popular culture reference or a trend, I don't know necessarily. I don't have my finger on the pulse as much as I used to. But I think from the sort of streaming side, it seems really exciting. And we have here sort of like soap operas, which are real blocks in people's week, and people, people love to watch it. And I saw the similarity between people tuning in to streams or games. You know, it's just as popular, if not more popular, in many cases than some of these TV episodes. And I thought it was fascinating, this idea that individuals and streamers could command an audience and have that sort of much of an audience, really. And it made me kind of consider what we could do in that space, and then we slowly got involved in the streaming space and approached Twitch and actually found a great person who's in charge of their community and charity non-profits, and they were really helpful with guiding us, and now we've made it into a bit of a venture, really.
That's awesome. I think I know who you're talking about. Is it Ali?
It is Ali, yes. It is.
Oh yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
Very small world, but that's awesome. Yeah, she's so great. That's so cool. So do you have a favorite streamer that you watch every so often?
Oh yeah, good question. I quite like just seeing who is not necessarily like sort of big scale. So at the moment, what did I watch the other week? I think it was a recommendation. It was around sort of Just Dance, because we've got sort of talents next. And I can't remember the guy's name, but I think he was just in a Spider-Man outfit, and it's just different like costumes every week. And it.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so tough.
Yeah, and I just like the sort of randomness, and so British culture is very interesting. During the lockdown, which we're calling it here, you'll probably be aware that in the UK, pubs are quite popular. These houses where you go and drink. Yeah. Obviously, we haven't been able to go to them, so there's virtual pubs. And a couple of virtual pubs have opened on Twitch, and I've gone to like quizzes. So there's great quizzes, yeah. So at the moment, we're really all the sort of the nation, the Brits are loving the virtual pubs. Some of them are being hosted on Twitch or various other platforms, but there's this real sort of community spirit, and people are going. They're putting teams together and they're competing in quizzes. So that's quite fun content to watch.
Awesome. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to look for that now.
Yeah, just type in virtual pub quiz and there'll be so many.
That's so cool. Do they give the illusion of you being in a pub with everyone else, or is it just kind of like, do they kind of provide like the atmosphere and the sounds and everything, like just kind of giving you a little bit of peace of mind?
You're right. Some of them do actually, and then some of them are using Zoom. So if you have your favorite pub, you can put the backdrop.
Oh my god.
I'll put behind you. And then others, as you say, are playing sort of the pub atmosphere sound, and there's the same sort of banter and jokes going on in there. So it is pretty much as if you were in the pub. And obviously there's been no shortage, although there's been shortage of toilet roll, loo paper.
Oh, yeah.
There's not been shortage of drink, so
everyone's good. That's good.
Yeah, everyone's still got drink at home, and are enjoying that as part of these virtual pub quizzes.
That's awesome. I had no idea. I love the way. See, I love, like, I know these are really hard times, but it's been really nice to see how creative people can get with interacting with each other, providing more spaces where people can interact, where they can stay social and not feel like they're completely alone, which I think is so important. And Twitch is a completely free space where you can watch anything you want, anyone you want, and all you need is an account to interact with someone, which kind of leads me to, I don't know if you saw the Fortnite event that happened. I think it's still happening this weekend.
Yeah, it is.
That was crazy. So I think the actual number that they broke was they brought in 12.3 million players in the first virtual Travis Scott concert. And that's crazy. Like, that is a lot of people online at the same time, but they all experienced the same thing. And when I checked back on Twitter, everyone was talking about it. It was really cool to see them identifying with each other and being like, oh, I was there too. Did you see this? Do you think that even after this lockdown is over, do you think that virtual space could be something that people keep revisiting? Or do you think it's kind of a one-time thing where, in times of crisis like this where people don't have access to anything, then they'll tune in? Or do you think people realize how accessible it is and might come back to it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there. And I think the fact that people are talking about it on social in the same way that they would talk about it if they were there in a stadium, probably just goes to demonstrate that. I think people always want to be able to say they were there, or I was part of something, and it sounds like this has been just as successful, and people feeling that kind of sense that they were there. And I think if I was sort of thinking about being a tour manager or a manager of an artist, I would probably think, well, I could reduce my costs by hosting something that is just as immersive and atmospheric without having to pay the stadium owner or all the sort of merchandise providers and things like that. So I think it's really, really powerful, and I suppose as technology gets even more deeper and immersive, then you are more likely to feel like you've got value for money in terms of whatever you paid. So I think it's such an exciting format, and we often actually think about it from a bullying and an abuse, sort of online abuse perspective, because if you are able to encourage people to walk in someone else's shoes or have empathy, we think one day actually the way we'll be able to educate people is by taking them through a course that makes them feel like they are going through what a victim of bullying goes through. So yeah, I think, and examples like this Fortnite event sort of demonstrates, I think, really that you can go above and beyond, and you can be really innovative in your approach. So I think it certainly gives a lot of inspiration to nonprofits.
Yeah. Would it be, I know this is kind of a far-fetched idea, but I think thinking of, an interactive class where you can teach people what it feels like to be bullied, even if it's to like sit down a victim's bully and be like, hey, this is what you're doing to this person. You should sit through this and just experience it. I feel like video games would be a really good way to kind of interact with kids, especially like, young teens. I think have you seen the video game Life is Strange by any chance?
No, remind me, what's that one? What's this?
So it came out a few years ago. It's one where it's like a point and click adventure kind of. You can choose your own decisions. So kind of something like that where it's immersive, where you really start getting attached to characters. The main character has a journal that she reads through. So I think something like that, like a game medium almost, would be a really good way to interact with victims and bullies and kind of educate them. And
definitely.
I don't know if that's a plan in the future, but that'd be really cool.
Yeah, very cool. We're doing a little bit around virtual reality, but we wanted to do games. But do you remember there was a game years ago? They had to change the name because it wasn't. There was a big sort of fuss about it, but it was called Bully, and it was this character.
Oh, that's right, Bully.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But I think the problem is the lead character sort of took revenge, so it wasn't.
Oh no!
Quite,
that's nice.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it was very popular, and I think you kind of have to, inspire people to feel like they want to go on that journey, and then perhaps they learn along the way, but they don't realize that they're learning until the end. But it's such a cool concept, really, to be able to do something.
It is, yeah. So, that's right. So Simple in chat says that's the Rockstar game, which is the same company that does GTA. So that kind of makes sense that he would retaliate. I do remember that being a big thing, and a lot of people really liked it. And Simple also brings up it's important to teach community leaders that kind of a class, and big streamers might be responsible for their community harassing others. Yeah,
well, that's such a good point. So we are, this is probably, I don't know if I can say this really, but we are actually planning on, we're planning on training streamers and particularly ones that are looking after communities or leading sort of big online sort of gatherings. So we're going to be offering that service to community leaders online and we want to be able to, as you say, equip some people in some of those basic skills, because we know that already streamers are very good at creating a sense of community and keeping the community safe, but we want to give them some of that support that might be missing. That is that in that same sense, no one really teaches you how to stand up to bullying offline. No one really does it online.
Yeah.
And even some platforms, like we're campaigning more to platforms and social media companies to do more to give users some of the skills and some of the knowledge to be able to report and block and make communities safer, more positive places. So we're going to be offering that at the Diana Award and the anti-bullying program as a sort of training, and we're looking to really start working with some community leaders and streamers to be able to empower them, and hopefully for them to empower other users and their followers and so on.
That's really good, because I think even streamers are faced with bullying almost every time they go online, and even that they need to know how to support their community, how to be able to stop that negative behavior, how to deal with the negative behavior. Because even when people say, oh, I'm used to it, like, that's kind of normal, it comes with the job, I don't think anyone really gets used to it. Even on my best days, sometimes a comment I see on a YouTube video or something, it gets to me, and I say something about it. And I know I've had some people ask me, like, why do you antagonize them? Like, why do you poke back? And it's like, no, it's about making a statement, because I know there's someone else who feels this way. And if at least one person speaks up, then maybe they'll feel like it's okay to speak up about their own situation.
I think that's a good point. I was actually having a conversation with somebody who's a bit of sort of I suppose a streamer and an influencer, and we were talking about this, and it is really hard when actually this person is probably getting thousands of positive comments, but they're kind of focusing on the 5 negative ones.
Yeah.
And I have to remind them that you shouldn't let like 5 people out of however many people there are in your community and in the world let you get to you too much. I mean, I agree, you have to stand up to it, you have to report things, you have to send a message that sort of behavior is not acceptable, but at the same time I think there's a balance between making sure you don't focus too much of your energy on those people that don't deserve your attention. And the other thing is, I think sometimes when I'm a viewer and I'm watching from the audience, I don't know there's negativity until the streamer points out the negativity. And like sometimes I say to the streamer, like, don't draw attention to it, because from the majority of your audience, they don't know there's any negativity, or they don't know anything's going on until you make a case of trying to respond. But it's that balance, because you want to be able to do something. You also want to send a very clear message to the rest of the community that what's going on there is not acceptable. But yeah, it's a kind of it's a really
that's so
difficult.
tough though. It's a very tough balance. Yeah, there is a time and place to definitely call out toxic behavior, especially if it's not quite apparent to the greater community, especially in a live stream. So I think that's really good advice, because I think a lot of people fall prey to seeing weeding out that one negative comment out of 50, and they focus on that and they let it get to them. And
I've seen in some cases they let it get to them so much during a live event that it affects their performance, and it takes away from the usual kind of performance and experience they give. And that's the thing that I also slightly worry about, is when you're a streamer and you have a very big community, if you shine a light on somebody that is being abusive or aggressive, you kind of might risk the whole of your community turning on that person. And cancel culture is such a big thing, isn't it? And I sometimes worry, like, if someone has said something and it is not acceptable, maybe they were having a bad day, like maybe you can just say, that's out of order. But if you sometimes focus all of your energy on someone, it could be detrimental for that person, I suppose, as well.
So one method that I use when I understand that this person has only made like one negative comment, they come in and they just say something, which is clearly just for attention. I greet them normally, and then I don't give them additional attention. And sometimes they'll leave, sometimes they'll stay and actually end up speaking normally to me, treating everyone else with respect. Once they don't get that validation with the negative attention that they want. But I don't think a lot of people understand that that is another method that you could use, kind of killing them with kindness. I know that's like a very overused phrase, but it can be a thing.
It's definitely true. Sometimes that age-old thing of treating them how you would like to be treated might just make them think, hang on a minute, I didn't expect that reaction, and make them reflect and look at their own behavior.
Yeah, there was one time I think I was doing a cooking stream, and I got hosted by a streamer, and I was very excited. I was like, oh, look at all these people coming in. And turns out he had a very toxic community. So they came in, they were throwing a lot of negative comments at me, and I was like, okay, this is a lot more than I can pay attention to. So I just decided to keep doing my stream, welcoming everyone, saying how nice they were, and saying, hey, this is what I'm making. I'm making breakfast for everyone, everyone in my apartment. And I remember that moment stood out to me because one person in the chat who's actually being very negative said, I'm really sorry for your behavior. You actually don't deserve any of this. And I was like, that's really nice. I've never seen that. So it was really nice to see positive behavior actually being validated in that way, where people recognized what they were doing wasn't right. And it was really nice to see that, but it's very hard for people to get to that point where they want to be positive to someone who is being negative to them. So what would be your advice to someone who is struggling with that?
Yeah, and I think as you say, that kindness and trying to find it when you've not been treated nicely, is difficult. But I suppose, maybe you can try and reflect on the position that you're in, and maybe you've got some privilege or you've got an opportunity really to try and show the sort of kindness that you would expect. And I think sometimes it's kind of stepping back and thinking, I'm actually lucky. I've got this unique opportunity to speak to that person who for some reason is following me or interested in me. So must have some sort of potential goodness in them to change, because they're still here. And I think use your voice and use the platform that you have and any privilege to try and think, well, I as a streamer can shape attitudes and change behaviors, so I'm going to use this opportunity to try and speak direct to them. And I think have that belief that you could make a difference to somebody, and that kind word could actually change their life, couldn't it? Because it could be they're going through a really terrible time at home or school, and all they need is somebody to speak to them in a different way, where they're perhaps not getting that sort of same voice of reason at home. So I think as a streamer, you can kind of believe in yourself that you can make a difference to somebody just through the power of words.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that, even if you are a small streamer, you still have a community that you are kind of responsible for in terms of what you kind of pass on to them. Like if you are a toxic person, your community will most likely be toxic and not be kind to others. And I think a lot of people don't realize that is a real power that content creators do have. So with the Diana Award, do you guys offer counseling to people who do contact you guys who are looking for help?
Yeah, so we've actually got something in the UK at the moment only, but I know in America it's really big. It's basically like a crisis text line, and the Diana Awards. Yeah, so Diana Awards have got one of those, and you can text and you be connected with a counsellor in a matter of minutes, and you can receive that sort of quick, easy support. And that's something that we do offer, and some of the staff are trained as volunteers in that, as well as other people across the country who support the service. But it is nice, I think, having that 24/7 support. But I think also compared to when I was growing up, really lucky now that the internet is so fast and accessible that actually if I'm embarrassed about something or if I need a little bit of help, I can turn to Google and I can ask that question, not be embarrassed. And I can probably find a community or a forum where I can anonymously find some support. And I think that's really powerful to think that you have the internet to turn to, and for all its faults, actually there is something quite protective and quite helpful about the internet, and being able to turn to it as a source of support when you perhaps can't do that face to face with someone.
Yeah, it's so funny growing up. My parents always told me, oh, don't talk to random people that you meet on the internet. But now that's, a lot of what my job is, a lot of what I do. And, it just goes to show that not all of the world is bad, which is really nice to know. I think one of my favorite subreddits is actually a Reddit called r/toast me. So if you're feeling down, you can post a picture of yourself and, kind of tell a little bit about what's going on, and people will say really nice things about you, and I think that is one of the nicest things that they have implemented.
Because I didn't even know that existed, because obviously you hear about roasting the toasting, like, and for us as British, we always toast to, basically it's our version of cheers to, here's to that and that, and that's such a nice idea, being able to toast me. I didn't know that existed, and that's a great place to turn for compliments. And
I didn't know it existed. I only knew about the roasting subreddit, so I was like, I'm gonna stay away from that. But when I saw it, it was just really nice, and everyone's just very helpful. I think every post I've seen there at least has like 2 or 3 comments, so not, everyone gets a little bit of support, which is really nice. So I actually just noticed that on the 22nd, you guys released a article about a new survey. Here's the title: is "New Survey Reveals Mental Health is the Biggest Concern for Young People in the Face of COVID-19." So what are some of the biggest concerns that you guys have for young people right now?
Yeah, so I think it's a really difficult time for everyone, but particularly young people who perhaps were incredibly used to that social element of going to school and meeting friends and so on. So what we found through this survey is actually a lot of people are feeling the sense of anxiety because of the situation, not having control. I think when you don't have the structure of going to school, or the structure of a job, or the structure of a positive, calm working environment, then you can be affected. So I think anxiety is one part of it. The other bit is the sort of the healthy mind and the healthy body bit, because you certainly here are limited to the amount of exercise you can do outside, because they're trying to stop people from gathering in parks and things. So that means you're not having that sort of release of positive endorphins, and your mind's not kept as active as it could be. So I think from that perspective, we're seeing a lot of anxiety around the current situation, and then concerns around your own mental health and your whether your mind is as healthy as it usually would be. So some of that is reminding people what they can do and the possibilities of doing stuff inside, and others is looking at what are some of the perhaps signs that your mental health isn't as good as it could be, and then what do you do. But we're certainly seeing, it's the whole, I suppose the whole world is having to do things differently, and if you are so if your brain is still developing as a young adolescent, then you're going to find that perhaps even tougher than other people. But the message is a similar one about knowing that you're not alone and that you've got people to go to, and there are things you can do to manage your anxiety and manage your well-being.
That's really good. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed as well, like I'm lucky enough to be able to work from home, but I have noticed my own motivation levels have been decreasing. I've not been sleeping as well, which then in turn makes me less energetic the next day, so I don't want to go out for a walk, or, some days I even get nervous going to the grocery store. So there are, a lot of external factors that are impacting mental health. So I think time is actually very perfect for your dance-a-thon, because it's encouraging people to, hey, you can play Just Dance at home. It's a great way to get your fitness in. It's also really fun. You can interact with, if you're at home with your parents, you can have them play with you,
Yeah.
which is really nice.
Yeah.
Especially with the dance-a-thon, where we're going to have, how many streamers do we have exactly? I
think the latest count was maybe like coming up to 30. So
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
like a
Okay.
really good, and like a really good reach from all of that. So yeah, I think you're right. And dance, when you dance, you can't kind of help but smile and feel good. And I think what we're trying to do is just give people a bit of an excuse to join in with something, to make them feel like actually you're not alone. You might be in a house on your own,
Yeah.
but you're actually able to connect with other people and do something that gets you moving, that gets you spreading positive vibes, and makes you feel good about yourself. And I think, coming back to your point about sleep, it's so true actually, and it's annoying because I don't really ever learn that lesson. I'm always like, oh yeah, I know everyone knows that sleep's important,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you know that when you don't, your day is just not as good. But even like, yeah, just getting that sort of right amount of sleep and starting the day positive, it means you feel so much better in so many ways. And I think it's a really important thing to watch, because as you say, it's so easy to think, I don't have to get up to work or school
Yeah.
tomorrow, so then I can just stay up late. But then you're sleeping late, and then your whole day will be, yeah, it's a big.
It's a cycle that just kind of keeps on happening, and I've definitely fallen into that a couple of days, and it's just really hard some days. And I think what's been really nice is that I've been able to talk to other people about how I'm feeling. Like, I posted on Facebook and Twitter, like, how are you guys dealing with everything that's going on right now? Like, I'm feeling extremely anxious. I'm not feeling really good about where I am mentally, and a lot of people are actually responding with the same sort of feedback. And it's kind of nice because it's like, oh, I'm not alone in this. Cool. Like, I can talk to you about it. It kind of helps, I guess, unify everyone who's in this. Like, hey, we're in this together. We're trying to protect each other.
Yeah. And I really like your approach to just starting a conversation about that. And that's something that at work we're talking about with our line managers, actually. Getting in the habit of, at the start of your one-to-ones with your boss or with the people that you look after, saying something as simple as, you know what, I'm struggling a little bit with getting this task done, or I'm struggling a little bit with my sleep. So we're now trying to encourage all of our managers at the Dino Award to start with that line, so they can show people that it's okay to have that problem with sleep or that problem with productivity. Because it sounds simple, but unless you say it, you don't really know that it's okay, or that you can also share that. So it's nice that you're already having those people, because I'm sure as a result of hearing that, they'll feel a little bit more okay with opening up and talking about it. And then together you'll probably have some solutions, right? You'll probably say, oh, well, I do this, or this works for me. But unless you say that, you don't know.
Yeah, and it's also really nice just to, I guess, like, confirm it with yourself, right? Like, just say it. Yeah, I think it also encourages other people to be less hard on themselves when they realize, oh, it's everyone. Like, a lot of people are going through this too, so it's okay. Like, it's a really hard time. You can indulge in your favorite foods. It's not going to kill you. It'll be okay. And they're really good and bad days, but yeah, I just feel like I don't think any of us thought that we would be living through a pandemic like this. So it's.
I don't think some governors. Some governments or leaders, world leaders, not mentioning their names, but
yeah, definitely was not prepared. But yeah, so we just had to quickly pivot, and I think we're doing a really good job so far of everything. And I'm really thankful that you are doing a movement like this, because it's really important to get everyone together to realize, hey, this extends further than just you staying at home and not feeling active.
Yeah. And if anyone can get involved, as simple as watching yourself, or thinking about what you can do, or even just joining in some shape or form, or doing it privately or doing it publicly. We want people to try this really, and just see if it lifts their moods. And I think just by you doing it will make other people smile, and that's the task of it.
Yeah. It's really funny. So at work, a lot of people were like, well, what can we do? What are some exercises we can do at home? And I was like, oh, Just Dance is on the Switch. You know, it's like, I think it was like $20 or something on the Switch. It was on sale. So I was like, hey, you guys can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't know about in the UK, but in North America, all of the Switch Ring Fits are sold out and they won't be available
Yes.
for a while.
Yeah,
Is
well,
it sold
that's
out there too?
you know, I feel sorry for anyone during this time that thought, oh, I'm going to become a streamer, because you can't get hold of a camera, you can't get hold
Oh
of a
my God.
microphone, like everything is just, and this is the ideal time, really, isn't it, to think about
Yeah.
some of these things. But yeah, it's totally the waiting time for anything is increased. So you have to kind of be creative, I suppose, which is
hmm
a nice thing to be challenged to do. But yeah, it's a good point.
So, what are some things that you're doing to kind of keep your mind occupied, trying to keep your body active, like going on walks or something? Like, what are some things that you do for
Yeah.
yourself?
So yeah, I'm lucky that I've one that I'm able to I suppose social distance, and I've got the space and to do that. But I've rediscovered some walks around where I'm staying, which actually there's so much there which you can do, and you can keep away from people and so on. So I think that's been a really important part. Connecting as well with family and friends. One of the first things I did at the start of the social distancing was set up a family WhatsApp group, and
Aw,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
so nice.
Last night we had the first Zoom, and we've got family in Washington DC,
Oh, wow. Okay.
New Zealand,
Oh my
and London. So
God.
3 different time
Yeah.
zones. So I think it was 9:30 p.m. here, 8:30 a.m. the next day in New Zealand, and then
Oh my
4:30
God.
p.m. in DC. But even things like that, like again, like coming back to that point of the dance fun that that we're, the dance sort of challenge that we're doing next week, is people kind of sometimes need an excuse to feel like, yeah, I'm going to do that, and they need a leader, someone like you to be like, come and do it. So I think the same with me setting up that WhatsApp group was the excuse that people needed, just to be like, oh yeah, it's easy now to speak to family you didn't speak to before, and that's been really helpful. And I think the other thing is just getting out. I ordered right at the start. I ordered a bike. It's still not come.
Oh no.
So yeah, you can't we
Yeah.
can't do everything, and I suppose it might be as simple as doing what makes you feel good, and that might be writing. It might be yoga or
hmm
meditation. I found that a lot of the apps are offering free basic stuff, around
Yeah.
like which is really good. So there's a lot online actually. There's a lot of good resources and strong ideas, I think.
Yeah, I think again with the apps. I think that's so nice. I actually just downloaded I think it's like a at-home fitness app that's usually a paid subscription, but they decided to do like I think 3 months free during this time. So I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like it's really nice to see companies kind of doing whatever they can. They're limited in terms of what they can offer, but it is nice to see them extend offers when they can.
Yeah.
So it seems like you're kind of even when you're like at home, you set like mini projects for yourself, like, making that WhatsApp group with your family, kind of taking charge of that. Do you feel like that's a good way for people to kind of take charge of their day to like make mini projects, like mini, what is it? To-do lists?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And but I think also there's nothing wrong with if you don't achieve anything one day. Well, it's fine, isn't it? Like, that's the other thing we were talking about at work. Actually, if there was a day when you didn't get as much done as you would have liked, well, that's not a problem, really, because we all have those days. So I think structure is helpful, and filling your day with things that make you feel good. But at the same time, if you have a off day and you don't do as much as you'd set out to do,
Mhm.
it's not the end of the world, really. But
Yeah.
I think lists do help. And time to switch off, really, because I'm sure all of us are spending even more time on screens or
Oh,
video
yeah.
calls. And I read an article. This is pretty funny, actually, ironic, but I saw an article about why we find video calls so draining, or something like that was the topic. I didn't finish reading it, and I've got to go find it.
Oh
Um,
no.
but there was some sort of maybe science around, and actually I remember some of it. It was on a video call. If you're in the room, you don't have to pay so much attention to people's verbal or non-verbal communications because they're kind of there. But when you're on a video call, you really have to be on. You have to be reactive, and you have to try and spot who and look for those clues that
Right.
you would get if you were in the room together. So it was an interesting the science behind actually when you're connected by screens. It's maybe a little bit more tiring. So perhaps you should factor that into your day and try and bench or kind of provide some space in between those calls for yourself, or so you're not overloaded.
Yeah, that's actually very fair, especially, if you work a job that has a lot of meetings and you have to be face to face. It's nice to kind of take a break. Maybe don't share your screen. Might be nice because then you don't have to constantly be like very, focused on what you're doing, on, your facial expressions.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because in this world right now we live in where there's a lack of social interaction, like that is a form of social interaction, and people who aren't, who are a little antisocial, they might struggle with that too, just being on a video call. So it's good that you're saying like, hey, it's okay if you want to like turn off your camera, if you just want to, take it slow, that's okay.
Yeah, and actually, I think that was a lot of the team at the Downward when we started working from home. They went into the situation thinking they're never gonna put their camera on because they were worried about not putting makeup on, or they were worried about how they look. But actually, after maybe a week or two, people would put their camera on and they wouldn't necessarily have makeup on, or they wouldn't, but they lost some of the nervousness around the new situation. But yeah, I think I think you have to sort of be compassionate with everyone during this time, and think that actually if they don't want the camera on, it's not such a problem because you know what they look like, and you might not need it. And we're certainly using Slack and at work, and we're doing voice calls maybe more than we're doing video calls. But I think also don't underestimate that being able to see someone when you don't see so many people is actually quite helpful. But agree, like it's got to be in the same way for online communities. You never want to feel pressured into anything or to feel uncomfortable. So I think you have to have that understanding.
Yeah, I think the other day it had been really hot in the apartment, and I had a really long day at work, so I decided to stream without my camera. And everyone was really nice about it. I was just relaxing, kind of decompressing, but also still able to interact with a bunch of people. So it was really nice to take that break from I guess being on the camera and stuff. It was really nice.
Yeah,
and I think I think a lot of people don't realize that is an option that they can have. Like they don't have to stick to the way things were just because they think people might want that. It's okay. People also want you to be happy and relaxed and slightly stress-free.
It's true. I agree with that. Yeah.
So with this anti-bullying campaign, what are we officially calling it? I think it's Slay at Home.
Yes.
Is it the campaign name? Okay.
Well, there's kind of two. So me and Josie, we couldn't decide. So one point we were sort of calling it House of Dance, and then we were saying in order to slay at home, a play on stay at home. But I think there's kind of two going: House of Dance, Slay at Home. But the idea is really it's that idea of being at home and showing how you feel good about yourself and trying to be active. But apart from that, there's not really any rules to it as such, is there? It's just it's just
you don't want us to be professional dancers who know every step.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you had to learn in order to participate, you had to learn the routine.
My God. I think part of the fun is watching someone struggle a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So with the fundraising for this, do you have like an overall goal, like a fundraising goal? And if so, where will that money go? Like where will those donations go to within your foundation?
Great question. So we have set ourselves a bit of a target, and I think it's around sort of $10,000, which, and we've got some good people also interested in the challenge who I think are going to tune in, and they're some of our sort of slightly warm supporters. But we one of the biggest things at the moment, we're quite used to doing stuff face to face or sort of online with groups already established, and obviously those groups have all disbanded. So we're investing quite a lot of time and hopefully a little bit of design and web skills, which this fundraiser will help with, in turning in some of those things that we do really well face to face into digital resources. Because actually, I think what this has helped is it's helped us realize the importance of kind of digital transformation. And while we've got some really good face-to-face facilitation and training, what we want to be able to do now is turn some of that into online modules or online short, sharp sessions or resources that everyone can access. So this fundraiser will help us provide resources around things like anxiety, things around screen time and how much time you spend online, as well as the most exciting thing, I think, is this training of streamers and community leaders who can actually, if we can give them some further empowerment and training and motivation, could make a real difference. Because if you think about your reach and the reach of all of these people participating next week, that's a really exciting thought if we were able to help them further make their communities and their online spaces even more safer and positive. So all of the money raised will help us go to that challenge. And I think we're already developing what that training session for content creators and streamers looks like, and we'll be testing it. I'm sure we'd love you to be part of that, and this will just help us move that on and then provide that facilitation and some of the follow-up resources. But we were excited about it, and we've got some ideas around what a digital or virtual badge might look like for people that have completed the course. And it's not in the same sense, it's not like a ongoing weekly course. It's going to be quite a short, sharp session, but hopefully that you leave and you feel, actually, I know how to better protect not only myself but others from potential harms online and offline. And that's the kind of ultimate mission. We're trying to make sure that people don't suffer from negative experiences or negative behavior, because we know that happens, but it shouldn't, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
So all of your classes were mostly face-to-face, like there weren't any online ones?
Well, we do quite a lot of sort of online mentoring sessions.
Okay.
And that's typically sort of over video or the phone. But what our model, I think, previously relied on is established groups, so like schools or youth clubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do now is like more look at individuals being able to access some of these resources more effectively, and we're also trying to slim things down. So whereas we used to have like somebody's undivided attention for a couple of hours or a day, now we don't have that, and like no one really has more time to give than like 20 minutes or something to an activity or a session. So we're trying to make the session slightly shorter and smarter and make the resources more digestible and accessible, which is a fun creative process.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I know that must be different going from teaching schools and different communities how to help with the problem of bullying to going to content creators, which is such a different field.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what that research process has been like, but I'm sure it's a really fun project to take on, especially since there have been so many more people coming to Twitch. I think even like celebrities, musicians, a lot of athletes have even been coming to Twitch. So I think that's really good. I really hope that, how quickly do you think you guys are trying to get this project pushed out, like the online classes?
Well, we've done quite a lot of the groundwork already, and I think we'll be in the position in the next week or so to start offering some of what we've created, and I think that's exciting. I think it's difficult for non-profits to be able to adapt quite quickly. Whereas as a business, you have so much resource available to you, and you have a lot of different skills. Sometimes in non-profits, you don't have the same sort of skills or the expertise. So we've had to be quite fast at this and bringing a couple of people to help support. But yeah, I think we're moving quite quickly. But whatever happens, actually, what we've kind of done is future-proof this stuff. So whatever we're doing now will be great even after lockdown or social distancing happens, because we've identified these are the sort of skills that people need all the time, not just during lockdown. So we're fairly confident that it will be really accessible.
Yeah, that's really great, actually, because I was going to say, online bullying and online, like negativity online is kind of always rampant. It's not just according to, COVID-19 times. It's kind of there. So I think that's really good. And yeah, I think content creators need to know that they do have a reach, even if they think that they're small, they think that, oh, it's just my opinion. It's still an opinion that influences a lot of people. There are a lot of impressionable people who do come by in your chat, and you have to be very careful about what you spread. So I think that's really good that you guys are doing all this research, and that this fundraiser will be able to help you provide more resources, help fund your campaign to, translate all of this into this new format that you are researching right now. So I think that's really great. Is there any fun facts about you or the Diana Award you want to give us before our time is up?
Oh yeah, fun facts. Yeah, well, it's probably one of the. You
said your favorite. You're going to talk about your favorite game, which I think is not,
Yes, yes, it's not as main. Well, I was going to say it's not as mainstream, but
there's a good following.
Yeah, particularly when I was actually one of my favorite games was a game when I was growing up called Dizzy, and it was about this egg, and it was on something called an Amiga sort of like a PC, and it was this egg that traveled between different sort of lands and tried to defeat some negative energy. But I loved it, actually. I was just, in my head, I was just thinking the world record egg on Instagram should team up with this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. I forgot about that.
Yes. But apart from that, I played things like strategy based sort of Age of Empires, Civilization. I don't know. I think I liked they're the kind of longer, they take longer to achieve. And I was just thinking earlier how you might start at lunchtime and then it's 3 a.m. and you're still playing because you haven't taken over France yet, or whatever this thing was on the game. But I like sort of things like that. What about you? Is there a particular platform at the moment?
I kind of like everything. I'm really bad at RTS games, so I would not be into Civilization. So I like more interactive things. I love any game with a story. I think I just recently finished. Oh my God, what game was it that I just finished? I did play the new Star Wars game that came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then let's see. I've been playing a lot of Apex. So a lot of first-person shooters and stuff. So. Animal Crossing. I've been very into Animal Crossing, which is a very relaxing game.
Yeah, it's nice. I heard a lot about that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also been a really nice way for people to interact. While they're separated, they can invite each other over to their islands. My friends actually had a Discord call where they had everyone in a group, and one by one they went to each other's islands and did little island tours and took them around while on voice call. It was very cute. And I thought it's a really innovative way to, interact with people, still get that friendship time in, kind of brag about what you have in your game and everything. So,
I like that.
Yeah. I just looked up the video game Dizzy, and the egg looks very happy. All the pictures, he just looks really happy.
Yeah, no, I think it was, from memory, it was the egg was always there positive, even when it was facing some real difficulties, but it was good. And yeah, me and my brothers would play it when, and it was, one of those bonding moments. I love things like that. And the other game, do you remember Day of the Tentacle?
I don't.
It was another really cool one. It was slightly dark in the sense that it made you scared a little bit. And I think it was a load of tentacles. Not the film, but the game, yeah. But that was another good one. Yeah, I need to check out those, see if anyone's made them available.
You said Day of the Tentacle, right?
Day of the Tentacle, yeah.
The remastered is actually on Steam, so
Oh,
maybe I'll
right,
check
okay.
it out. Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Tibble says it's a point and click, and Simple says that's the LucasArts game.
That's right, LucasArts, yeah, of course.
That's
yeah.
so cool. Yeah, the remastered is on Steam, so I think we're gonna
Yeah.
lose them to this to this game now. Kind of relive your childhood. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to
It's
keep
good
that
fun.
in my tab.
Very
All
good
right.
fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Are you going to be in the chat rooms for the live streams when they're happening? Because I think they
Yes, yeah.
start Wednesday. Wednesday?
That's right.
Is it Wednesday?
I think that's Wednesday. One
I don't know
might be
what
on
times
Tuesday.
are anymore.
But, yes, I know, it's crazy. But yeah, JC and I will be around, and particularly on social, and we're really looking forward to it, seeing what comes out of it, and also, you know, anyone can get really involved by supporting on social media, or, you know, by watching or donating. But really, this participating, that's kind of important, and we hope this brings people together and gets people active and moving and feeling positive about things, because I think that's the other important message. That, you know, some really difficult times, and some people have, you know, faced some real you know, sort of hardship during this, but the thing that stayed strong is, I think, in a lot of cases, that sense of community and people coming together, supporting each other. And this is, you know, another good example of the online community doing that.
Yeah, I think that's so great. It's amazing, and I really hope we reach our goal this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it starts the 28th, or no, 29th, which is Wednesday.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what time it is. Yes, so I'm very excited to see you. Hopefully, I can, once you guys have the curriculum for content creators, I would absolutely love to take one. I think that'd be
Brilliant.
so useful. And I will definitely try to tell as many people about it. I'll tell people at work about it because I think it's important too.
Nice.
So yeah,
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Well, thanks for having me, and I've enjoyed it. It's been a good chat, and yeah, thank you.
Of course. I'll definitely let you know when the episode goes live, and I'll send you all the links so you guys can, you know, have a listen and everything. Well, thank you. I am going to hang up here, but I'll catch up with you afterwards.
Definitely.